to the GPP, giving you knowledge and practical takeaways to improve your own general physical preparedness. I'm your host. As always, I'll always be your host. I'll never leave you. Even after death, I'll still be here, probably hosting this podcast in the afterlife. Season 2, episode 21 coming at you now. What's on the docket for today? Patience, because I will tell you what we're going to go over today. We're actually going to start with kind of like what we started with last week, more of like a positive, more of like a genuine reflection in memes and things. We'll actually start with a real thing, and that's going to be a zoomed out look at the health and wellness industry as a whole. I think it's very easy to get insulated in our own circles, not realize how big the industry actually is, how many people are really out there pursuing health and wellness, and more importantly, what they're spending their money on, because some of these numbers might shock you. Once we've gone over our serious stuff there, we're going to get into the memes. Two of our favorite features on the show are back. We're going to have Chris Henshaw, notorious idiot. I thought about tagging him on my story. Well, let's talk about when we get there. Notorious idiot. Chris Henshaw is back. It's insane that CrossFit keeps promoting that guy and pumping that guy up. He's not a smart person, people. Don't take him seriously. And someone who doesn't claim to be a smart person, which is why we love him, El Campeon. If, let's say there was a hypothetical, and HBO got both of them on a pay-per-view to discuss training methodologies, there's no amount of money. No amount of money. I would sacrifice my mortgage for the month to watch that pay-per-view if they got together, sat down in a room, and talked about what they think are the nuances of training and how to get the best results possible. I would really like that. So, HBO, hit me up. Maybe this is such a good idea, I should invite them both onto the podcast, and I will moderate it to the highest bidder. And you don't even have to bid very much. This one might go for like 99 cents. Now, our next piece, pop quiz. What do I love more than anything? Jake, hit him with the Jeopardy music. Actually, hit him with like AI-generated Jeopardy music so that we don't get copyrighted. What do I love more than anything? Got your guess ready? You wrote it down? Let's start revealing answers. You're wrong. What I love more than anything is Instagram recipes that pretty much seal your fate in terms of rectum reversing bowel movements. We're going to talk about a 100 gram of protein breakfast. It's a lot of protein for a breakfast. We're going to talk about a chocolate cake. And because I've been screenshotting a lot of carnivore stuff, Facebook's really throwing a lot of carnivore recipes at me. So we're going to talk about fat bomb fluff. I have a public apology. I'm going to publicly apologize to Peter Attia. I thought his stuff was kind of garbage. And 5 years ago when I was looking at his stuff, it wasn't my favorite. Thought it was very much like majoring in the minors. But I'm going to show a reel from him that might actually be some of the best longevity advice, living a long life advice that you'll ever see. Carnivore people, second appearance on the show. 2 carnivore appearances on the show. That's good stuff. Their content is really making it out there, or I'm just getting a lot of it because I'm sending a lot to Jimmy and I'm screenshotting a lot of it. Either way, carnivore people are starting to realize what we all knew from the beginning, which is that a diet that is completely void of fiber makes going to the bathroom hard. So we got a recipe from, I don't even know who this guy is, but it's his way of lubing the chute. Getting some poop out when you're only eating pretty much meat and saturated fat. Hard to poop when there's not anything moving that stuff along. And last but not least is something that was sent to me by a client of mine that's pretty enraging. It's someone coming after Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Unacceptable. So stick around if you want to see me come to the defense of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and show you someone who just really doesn't understand how the human body works, how nutrition works, how ingredients in food work, all of that good stuff. But before we get into the show, today's sponsor is The Gifted HQ Google review page. If you haven't left us a 5-star review, please do so now. Listen, our goal is simple. We want to provide the best coaching experience across all training, health, wellness, nutrition domains to as many people as possible. It's as simple as that. That's what we want to do. We want to provide people with a coaching experience that gives them the results that they want, a way to sustain that, the education to support that, so that after a year, they say, bye-bye Gifted HQ, I'm in the best shape of my life, I know how to sustain those results, and I'm going to go tell my friends how I got these great results. That is how we truly spread health, wellness, and the best results possible to as many people as possible, and we reverse the number one most vexing problem facing the world today, which is obesity. Don't get it twisted. The number one problem facing the world today, something that will doom economies, kill hundreds of millions of people, if not billions of people worldwide, if we do not reverse it now, is obesity as sedentary lifestyle. So come to Gifted HQ, work with a coach, get the best results of your life, learn how to sustain those results, and then please, if you're not going to refer people to us, we'll take it, doesn't matter, please spread that information to as many people as possible, and when you're done, leave us a 5-star review. SEO, organic traffic, what are some other internet words? Engagement, click-through rate. Those are all things that Jake says to me sometimes that he understands and I don't. Those are the things that we want. The more of those we get, the better the world becomes. So go leave us a 5-star review if you haven't done so already. Leave some kind words if you'd like to. We appreciate all of those reviews. Once you've done so, send us a screenshot. Maybe we'll send you some apparel, a free template, a cookbook, something cool like that. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening to it. 5 stars is what we want. A comment, a rating, something. This is the best podcast. Send it to your friends. Let your dog watch it. Open it on your iPad, 2 iPhones, your computer, and your TV all at once, and just let it play through. Those views feed us. They feed me. They feed my ego, which is the hungriest beast of all. They also feed the algorithm to get this out to as many people as possible. Make sure you subscribe to us on Instagram. And if you are looking for coaching, applications are always free. Consults are always free. If you have more of an in-depth consult, you want to use the needs analysis link rather than just the simple application consult. Do that with your coach of need, your coach of preference. If you don't have a preference, just fill out the application, say no preference. Jake and I will sort you from there. Jake and I are actually together as a team. We are the Gifted Sorting Hat. All right, let's actually get into the show today. Let's start with, you guessed it, memes and things. All right, first memes and things, like I promised, it is a thing more than it is a meme. And that is this post from an account that I actually really like, Mops and Mo's. I don't know what that means. Maybe, hold on, let me go to their profile, see if it explains it. Changing the fitness culture of the force. Oh, Department of Defense. So, fitness content for those who are in the service or have previously served. And then they have some general content here as well. Wow, 12 likes, guys. I don't want to understate how popular I actually am, but, pulling that up and seeing 12 likes, woo! But no unread messages. So how popular am I really? All right. A very common sentiment that I would say I see a lot of in the fitness industry is that people are always talking about big pharma. Big pharma's out to get us. They want us to be sick. They want us to be unhealthy. They feed us their poison to sell us their cure, whatever the hell that meme format is that I see floating around so much. Now, when we look at the scope of big pharma versus the wellness industry, big wellness, whatever you want to call it, look at the numbers here. The wellness industry is roughly 4 times the size of the pharmaceutical industry worldwide. 1.5 trillion in quote-unquote big pharma. Shouldn't you also be skeptical? This is a great question. Shouldn't you also be skeptical of the $5.6 trillion that's spent every year in the wellness industry? Yes. The answer is yes, you should be. Period. End of story. Let's actually look at how that's spent, the wellness economy in the world. $5.6 trillion. So we have your traditional and complementary medicine at $519 billion. That's not really what we do in terms of gifted, the coaching, fitness training, nutrition, online personal training industry. not so much in the medicine or medicine dispensing, not so much in this category here of like real estate, mental wellness, kind of a little bit. We don't have any mental health specialists on our staff per se, but we do a little bit of this. It's built into our coaching on an unofficial basis. Wellness tourism, I think that would fall into like our retreats. Personal care and beauty, not so much. Physical activity, yes. Healthy eating, nutrition, and weight loss, yes. Personalized medicine, meh. Public health, yes. So I do think that supplements fit into this healthy eating, nutrition, and weight loss category, which is the biggest outside of personal care and beauty. Maybe that's where supplements fit in as well. But between personal care and beauty and the healthy eating, nutrition, weight loss side of things, what people are spending on those two alone exceed big pharma. So when we look at the money spent in terms of money lost on possible, fad diets, supplements that, probably you shouldn't be taking, you have no business taking, can really save quite a bit of money, because if supplements, or like dietary interventions, think about things like Nutrisystem or Weight Watchers, where you're paying to have the food delivered to you. The amount of money that can be saved here is, in the billions of dollars, trillions of dollars here. 1,000 billions is a trillion, last time I checked. So quite a bit of money that can be saved. This physical activity one is also an interesting one, $976 billion. That's just going to be like gym memberships as well. Those three being the largest right there. So at GiIFTED, what we're trying to do is really decrease the amount of money that people are spending on these meal order kit systems, blah, 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 supplements, all of that, and just focus on the real basics. Because there's really, with the current state of wellness in the world, the obesity rate, the, prevalence of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, the fact that we're spending $5.6 trillion on global wellness, and the globe has never been so unwell in the history of the world, but lifespans are going up. It's because we've literally got the medicine to keep you alive and in a very unhealthy state. The amount of money that we're spending, the results that we're getting, those don't match up. And this isn't a conversation that people are having. This isn't a conversation that's being had at the high level. This isn't a conversation that's being had in a setting or in a medium where people are actually going to consume it and get anything out of it. So for us at GiIFTED, the message that we're trying to send is, how can we make this as simple as possible and be as inexpensive as possible? Yes, our coaching is a premium, but most of our clients, when they finish with us or during their time with us, they say that hiring you guys actually decreased the amount that I was spending on, silly food items, supplements that weren't working, gym memberships that I didn't really need, recovery modalities. I was spending hundreds of dollars a month to get dry needling and cold plunging and all of that. And I've stopped spending, and I feel significantly better as a result of it, because I've checked the boxes that truly matter, which aren't super expensive in the first place. So how can we do two things here? How can we decrease the amount of money that people are spending on their wellness and at the same time actually become more well? It's focusing on the basics. It's a diet that's rich in lean, high quality proteins, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fats, largely from omega-3, some omega-6 sources, but largely from omega-6s, getting your essential fatty acids in, being physically active throughout the day, 30 to 60 minutes, 5 to 7 times a day, whatever form that takes, doing some sort of resistance training, and finding a way to make it sustainable and enjoyable, preferably in a social setting where you can bring your friends along and utilize the social resources around you, the community around you, to make sure that your results stick for a lifetime. That's what we're looking for. And I promise you, it doesn't cost $5.6 trillion a year globally. We can do it for cheaper, and we can get much better results if we cut through the nonsense and we start to provide interventions that actually help people. I also think it's very crazy how the reservation that people had around supplements 10 to 15-ish years ago, people were scared to take ephedrine. They were scared to take Hoodia. They were scared to take stimulants that had a strong effect on the sympathetic nervous system, on your heart rate, on your adrenal cortex. People were scared to take those because they thought that they would downregulate their thyroid and they would get adrenal fatigue and all this stuff. They were scared to take something like ephedrine. But now you've got people that are the same people in the fitness industry that were like, you can't really trust big pharma, blah, 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 supplements and optimizing and all that. And now they're the ones that are fucking wondering, what's the maximum dosage of Ozempic that I can take per day? How much semaglutide can I put in my body before I actually die? These are the same people. So we've seen, again, this pendulum, this swing of like distrust of simple supplements to this full-fledged buy-in on something like semaglutide, Ozempic. How much can I physically take before my body starts to literally die in front of my eyes? So it's a funny little transition there. I personally am in favor of Ozempic. I think it's a really good pharmaceutical aid for people who need help right away. I think it's a drug that's going to save a lot of people's lives in terms of the impact and how quickly it can impact your weight and your body fat. I have reservations on long-term results, long-term side effects of it. It's something that influences brain chemistry. We might be seeing some commercials. You or a friend take semaglutide, Ozempic, whatever, at some point in your life, you might be entitled to compensation. I think we might see some stuff like that in the future. But no, I'm definitely not a pharmaceutical boomer or doomer, I should say, when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think that the best approach is a varied approach. I think the optimality when it comes to getting the best results in terms of improving people's health and making them as healthy as possible long-term comes from adaptability of the system. It has to be professionals, practitioners that are open to a variety of methods to fix this situation that's in front of us, rather than the individuals who go down a single path. And the pharmaceutical industry is going to save us. No, the pharmaceutical industry is out to get us. There's a lot of money to be made in, fixing obesity, curing obesity, if you will. The pharmaceutical industry, every industry that's in this space likes to make money. There's money in helping people fix their problem. There's also some money to be had in prolonging the problem. So I kind of exist in the middle there. I believe that there are going to be quite a few interventions necessary, variety of interventions necessary to fix the problem at hand here. But I like this post. I think it's a really good look at just if anything, it's just a good look at the scope of the industry as a whole. All right, let's get into some shit posting now. Number one, Jake, I just want you to play this all the way through, this clip from Chris Henshaw.
I am so tired of seeing the elite level athletes go down into an isometric squat, that they think that this actually is the best way to clear fatigue. Imagine you're doing legless rope climbs and you decide, I'm just going to hold here before I touch the ground, and this is my way of recovering. There is no difference. So what we want to teach is, okay, so then what is the optimal way? What you want to do in any recovery protocol is the first thing, get control of your breathing. So you'll see a lot of athletes just start shaking, but you hear them hyperventilating. Their demand for oxygen is exceeding what they can supply. The reason why their muscles are burning on fire is because they're starved of oxygen. So no amount of shaking helps until you get control of the breath. So teach them, slow down the breathing, allow the heart rate to drop. Find your recovery protocol. Is it sitting on the ground? I always find it interesting. Athletes will sit in an isometric squat in the middle of the workout, and at the end of the workout, they lay on the ground. Why aren't they at the end doing the squat if it's so good? Maybe sitting on the ground is better for you.
All right, now that you've seen that, he's talking about the isometric squat. He's talking about how people are essentially resting in the sport of fatigue by going down and doing an isometric squat, and he's comparing that to a rope climb and just stopping on it. He's talking about the optimal way for recovery. So within a workout, how do I recover? How do I take control of my breath? Talking about hyperventilating for oxygen. Really, the scope of this is that, the premise that that Chris is yapping about here is that the isometric squat is not the best way for an individual to recover during a workout. Yet, watch Matt Frazier, watch Rich Froning, watch Roman Krenikov, Justin Medeiros, Jason Hopper, Jeffrey Adler, watch any of the elite women. Their natural impulse is when they are resting during a workout, they hit that isometric squat. There's a reason why they do that. So Chris is essentially virtue signaling here and saying everyone is doing it wrong. All the best in the sport, those who have won the games dozens of times, tons of first place finishers here are doing it wrong. I know the right way to optimize rest and maximize results. Now, what I want to point you to is this comment from Miguel. This first comment here, Miguel absolutely cooks Chris in this comment. If I was going to comment, I would say exactly what Miguel is here. Squatting down causes a cascade of physiological changes in the cardiovascular system. It increases systemic vascular resistance and increases venous return from compression of the leg veins. A lot of people don't know that. Because of the effect of gravity, there's a good amount of deoxygenated blood that gets stuck in the legs. And by squatting down and increasing pressure, increasing compression, I should say, to use the correct term, of the leg veins, you increase venous return to the heart. By increasing venous return to the heart is able to expand more, fill with more blood. Call that the Frank Starling mechanism if you're a cardiophysiology nerd. And the more that it expands, the more it can fill with blood. And with each contraction, we see stroke volume go up. Stroke volume being the amount of blood that is pumped out of the heart with every beat. There's also a barrow reflex that occurs when rising from a squat. Stroke volume, cardiac output, and mean arterial pressure all increase significantly, and heart rate decreases significantly. So what we see is that because the heart is able to expand and contract and push out more blood with each pump, heart rate can go down. The amount of blood that your body needs at any fixed intensity of exercise, or any intensity of exercise is fixed. It's X amount. If I can pump more blood with each beat as a result of stroke volume going up, you guessed it, heart rate can then go down. What Chris is talking about here is regulating heart rate. What Miguel is saying here is that the best way to regulate your heart rate is actually to go down into a deep squat for a short period of time, compress those veins in your leg, increase the amount of blood flow back to the heart. And what you see is a decrease in heart rate, a regulation of your heart rate, which is exactly what you want in the middle of a workout like this. Chris isn't just sort of wrong. He's got it completely backwards. He is the one who still believes that hands on your knees is the worst way to recover. I'm sure. I don't know if he actually believes that. I wouldn't be surprised. To finish Miguel's comment, he says, children who are born with tetralogy of Fallow. I have no fucking clue what that is. This guy is really throwing around some good stuff. I believe he's a doctor. We'll click on his profile in a second. Often found squatting when they are out of breath to help them oxygenate their blood. Let's see what Chris has to say. In other words, squatting, even though it can cause some muscular fatigue in your legs, significantly helps you lower your heart rate and recover quickly. Hope this helps. Really, most of your CrossFit competitors, when they go down to that isometric squat, are supporting themselves with a hand on the ground as well. So what you're seeing is not much resistance or not much load being on your legs as a whole. And really, if you're weighing a cost-benefit analysis, small amount of fatigue from an isometric squat at the bottom, that's not really that much of an isometric squat because you're probably also supporting part of your body weight with your hand, versus the pro there being a large increase in venous return of blood to the heart and a decrease in heart rate. Pedro agrees, thinks that it's very interesting. Would be better to lay on the floor. And he responds to this one who says, hey, would it be better to lay on the floor? I think laying on the floor, the argument that Chris is making in the video is that when a workout is done, people are laying on the floor. So why wouldn't they just lay on the floor and then hit instead of hitting? Because when you lay on the floor, you got to fucking get up from the floor, Chris. What a stupid analogy. But Miguel responds to that and just says, I'm not sure if you have ample time to recover. I would probably lie down. If you only have a few seconds in between reps of a long workout, squatting or kneeling, listening to your body. At the end of the day, if you want to recover quickly, you need to have a strong aerobic base, which is built by doing long, steady state zone 2 bike rides, incline walking. If you're in great shape, running slowly, aiming to keep your heart rate under 140. Here's someone that says, I find squatting much more comfortable than sitting, squatting or horizontal. Where's Chris's comment? All right, Chris's comment says, I'm assuming that you're in agreement. How the fuck did you get that, Chris? He's literally saying you're wrong. However, if you are claiming an isometric deep squat is the best option for recovery between high-intensity running, sprints, heavy sets of back squats, 5-minute MMA rounds, or 3 minutes of boxing, I'd welcome the evidence, any evidence. Let's jump on a call because your updated response is riddled with inaccuracies. Message me. Miguel said, let me turn the heat up a little bit higher for you, Christopher. No hard feelings, just trying to educate. You could find the evidence of how sustained squatting lowers heart rate if you study medical exercise physiology. I don't think that Chris has any background education at a high level in physiology whatsoever. The way he speaks, the things he says, give me the idea that he genuinely... So in the 5K event at the games, I've highlighted this before on my story, Chris says that the athletes come out fast and then slow down because they want to start by activating the anaerobic energy systems as the aerobic energy systems warm up. Chris, that is so fucking wrong. That is so incredibly wrong. Okay, I don't want to get backtracked. Miguel's response. I'll handle that one on a different episode if I feel like it. Miguel goes on to say it is covered specifically in cardiovascular, pulmonary, renal, and acid-based chapters. You can speak to a cardiologist. They can help explain it to you. Here's a really simple article, Physiological Responses to Prompt and Sustained Squatting. Google this if you're a nerd and you want to read more. I read some of it. It's a pretty solid article. Measurement by systolic. You can find it for free online. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to teach the entirety of cardiovascular exercise physiology on a phone call, but I would encourage to study it yourself. You might be surprised at what you learn. Hope that helps. Let me know what you find. Woo! Miguel. If you are watching this podcast, you just want to support someone who enjoys cooking people online, Miguel, masterclass in cooking up Chris Henshaw. Chris Henshaw, his time is limited, I think. I think that people are really starting to catch on to the fact that this guy has no fucking clue what he's talking about, and he just talks out of his ass. Who else commented on here? There was another one on here. Where was it? We'll finish on. Homie's got his PhD in Japanese. That's basically Chris. He just talks out of his ass the entire time. And CrossFit is due for an intellectual renaissance the way that bodybuilding went through as the evidence-based movement kind of made its way into bodybuilding. I think the same will happen on the CrossFit side as well. I think someone who's putting out really good content there, I've featured his content on the podcast before, is Paul Weber. Definitely go check his stuff out if you're looking for someone who knows a little bit better than Mr. Henshaw here. But the aerobic capacity seminar, if it's not dying already, should be dying very soon. Chris doesn't know really what he's talking about. Any coach that's like, Chris, who have you worked with from the start of their career to making it to the CrossFit Games? I'll wait. It's nobody. Chris probably, if I had to guess, pays athletes, the likes of Fraser Froning, Tia, Jeffrey Adler, all the people that he says he has worked with. He probably pays them to claim that. And he only attaches his name to them when he's at the top or when they're at the top of their game. Why isn't he working with like the 30th place finisher? Oh yeah, because he knows that person's not going to get them the notoriety that he wants, and he can't actually make them any better. So Chris, crazy man, says some crazy stuff. Best hour of your day. Stop having this guy on the podcast. Now, to someone that I truly love, El Campeon, the man, the myth, the legend, I saw a post the other day that said that El Campeon is the biggest ego lifter in the history of the gym. If that's true, that's a big accolade. Think about how many ego lifters you know. This guy's the best. All right, the man's going for an 810-pound hack squat here. This is the world record for a hack squat. You might say, I didn't know there was a world record for the hack squat. That's because you're stupid and El Campeon is smart. That's 24 plates, 689 pounds. This is the funniest part of the video, is him carrying all of his belts and his knee wraps to get this done. He's also wearing 3 mics. Look at this top comment. 3 mics, 3 belts, 800 pounds. Whoa! I didn't read the end of that comment before I started saying it. 0 reps. What are you talking about? Here we go. Don't know if it's 810 pounds or 683. He said both. That looks like parallel to me. Joel Seedman would call that 90 degrees. Last time I checked, all you need is 90 degrees to make a squat legitimate. I thought he was going to do it for 1. He hits it for 2 reps here. He's going for another. Good. I mean, they're easy. This isn't like, a lot of you will say, oh, you know, that I could do that too. But it's like, if you did this, it would be like RPE 8, RPE 9, maybe even RPE 10. It would probably be all the way to failure. El Campeon doesn't even have to, the speed of the bar, the speed of the weight doesn't change from one rep to the next. I doubt that he's even at RPE 7. He's leaving 4 or 5 reps in reserve. He's literally challenging the internet, the fitness space, to match what he does, or maybe exceed it slightly. Someone does A10 for like 4 reps. Their range of motion probably isn't as good as his, but maybe they do it for 4 reps and they tag him like, oh, I beat El Campeon. Little do you know, this guy's got like 9 reps in reserve. He could have done this for a set of 10. This is the modern age Ronnie Coleman. It's very impressive that El Campeon is able to do this with, you know, 1/4 of the muscle mass that Ronnie Coleman has and none of the drugs. I have no doubt in my mind that El Campeon is a natural athlete able to exceed, however you want to slice it, what Ronnie Coleman did in his prime. Eugene says, what the fuck is wrong with this man? I think he's got some sort of special needs. Yeah, his special need is that he has scoliosis and he just broke a world record. What is with people in the comments that can't just celebrate a world record from the champion himself? I want to have this guy on the podcast. I want to get him and Chris Henshaw in a room together. I got a lot of things on my plate, a lot of things that I want to do. I'm here to celebrate him. El Campeon, world record. Congratulations, man. If anyone deserves it, it is you. All right, let's get into another feature on the podcast, which is my favorite recipes for blowing out your beehole. Most of them this week are actually coming from Carnivore people. I do think that because I was sending a bunch of Carnivore stuff to Jimmy, that my algorithm is now like dominated by Carnivore stuff. So I'm going to get a lot of it until I find some like vegan shit or, you know, some other weird food intervention, lifestyle, whatever, that dominates my algorithm next. So let's look at this. This comes from Matt Lawrence. I posted this on my story, but I actually think the carnivore diet does a good job of teaching people how to eat enough protein. It's just when you take that next step and you're like, vegetables are actually bad for you and the human body doesn't need fiber, that's when we start to exit the realm of reality and we start to just yell dogmatic, weird stuff at each other for seemingly no reason. All right, Matt Lawrence, 100 grams of protein, breakfast. Let's play it. What do we got here? All right, macros on the meal. You can see here. Hold on. I got to get my calculator. For this one. So it says 100 grams of protein breakfast, which is cool. 100 grams of protein at breakfast. I always encourage people to start with their biggest serving of protein first in the day. Get themselves ahead, especially if they find themselves late in the day struggling to get enough protein in. So while this meal does have 100 grams of protein, it also has 81 grams of fat. 81 grams of fat, plus the 400 calories. Plus the 400 calories from. So this is basically a 1,200 calorie breakfast right here. That comes with 100 grams of protein. So it's not, this isn't going to be your fat loss meal here. It's a breakfast bowl. Looks like we got some hard-boiled eggs. All right, we got a tablespoon of grass-fed butter. Yummy. 8 ounces of ground bison. Garlic powder. Cayenne pepper. That's too much cayenne. Jesus. Salt. Gotta get the salt. Eggs. We got 6 hard-boiled eggs cut in half. Add your bison on top. I really just want to see what sauce he puts on this. Cultured blue cheese. Okay, tasty. Oh, gross. He's just putting yogurt on top of it? Yuck. Man, please comment below. Let me know what your farts would smell like after eating this thing. Imagine eating this like 4 times a day and then Dutch ovening yourself, or even Dutch microwaving yourself. The Dutch microwave, if you fart in a pillowcase, put that over someone's head. Might be lethal. That might be a war crime. My stomach hurts thinking about putting this much down. It's very strange, the recipes that people latch themselves onto. If you're someone who thinks that dietary cholesterol is a contributor to heart disease in the absence of considering all other lifestyle factors, this recipe has to be terrifying to you, because this is like 9 days worth of dietary cholesterol by the RDA standards. Dietary cholesterol is one we should talk about on another podcast. But for the sake of this guy's podcast, or of this guy's profile, he's actually in great shape. He's definitely getting enough protein in, fiber necessary in the diet. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, it's a quick recipe. It's a lot of protein. It's funny because your farts would be like pure sulfur after this. But if this is the way you get your protein in, this is the way you support your lifestyle, I won't hate on you too much. I'm going to reserve my hating for this right here. There is something going on in the fitness industry. It's been going on for a while, where we call things what they really aren't. So in this case, she's gonna call this a cake. It's not a cake. People will call Lenny and Larry's cookies. They'll call them cookies. Oh, I had a cookie. It's not a cookie. People will call Halo Top ice cream. It's not ice cream. Stop calling things what they're not. This is not a cake. All right, let's look at it. That is an apple, a whole apple. Didn't even core it. Oh, it says cored and sliced in the recipe, but she just threw an entire apple in the blender. Interesting. Okay. So full apple in there. Cocoa powder, 1/3 of a cup. If you've ever had cocoa powder, it's not exactly the tastiest. It's rather bitter. An apple and an egg. No sweetener, no binder, no flour, nothing. Cocoa powder, apple. You get this disgusting looking substance. You bake that 350 for 30 minutes, and you get, according to her, the most decadent and delightfully moist cake that you've ever had. My question to Lindsay, Kioscien, sorry, crushed your name there, destroyed your name, I'm sorry, I'm sure you're a nice lady, is have you ever had cake before? Like real cake? Have you ever had a cake before? Have you ever gone to the Outback Steakhouse and gotten the chocolate thunder from down under? Have you? Because it probably is a little bit better. It's a little bit more decadent, a little bit more delightfully moist, if you will, than a blended up apple cocoa powder and an egg. But don't take my word for it, because I've never tried this recipe before. Ryan, you could be wrong. You've never eaten this before. Maybe it's quite good. Ryan, you used to make an egg loaf cake with carrots and egg whites and cocoa powder and instant coffee. Yeah, I know. I also used to be weird, but I'm not weird anymore. I'm normal now. I'm more normal now. All right. Joy K Yoga says, saved. Looked at the comments. Unsaved. It tasted like depression. Definitely take the seeds out first. They contain cyanide. I love telling people this when they're worried about chemicals in food. It's like, you know that, hey, it's raining. Do you know that apples have cyanide in them? What? In the seeds. The amount is so small, doesn't matter. This should be illegal. This was absolutely terrible. Did anybody try this? Okay, I made this first. It tastes a bit shit. Tried this. It's a little bit bitter. It's a remake. Still haven't tried it yet. Need a little sweetener. Made this last night. It was like pudding after 30 minutes. It's not cake. This isn't a cake. I don't even know. It's an apple smoothie. Apple egg smoothie. This won't bake into a cake. You need something to bind it. At least be a bodybuilding weirdo and add whey protein to it so you get your protein intake up. But Instagram has no shortage of recipes like this. They taste bad. They don't come out the way that you see here. They're just high production value, high quality videos. They get a metric shit ton of likes and views, almost 90,000 likes on this right here. And then people in the comments are like, yo, did anyone try this? Because it is disgusting. It's just content that people see, they like, they save, they never make. And then it allows these pages to continue proliferating and keep making more of this content. It doesn't do anything for healthy recipes or fitness or nutrition as a whole. It's just some silly thing that people do. All right. I got to pull up the last one here. This one is extra weird. I don't really know what to make of it. Bear with me. I got to hide my asset share real quick. Let's see if I can find this picture really quick. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. I'll just show you this one really quickly. When I screenshotted this, look, Jake, zoom in on Chris Henshaw's face here. This is when I screenshotted this to talk about it later. This is just a screenshot that I got. Just zoom in. Is that the face of a man whose advice you want to take? Or is that a crazed individual? Also, look at the way he dresses. For making a lot of money, you ain't got that fit. All right, here we go. Here it is. It's carnivore fluff. Jay, you can zoom in on this one. All right, no, fat bomb fluff. Sorry. It is a cup and a half of heavy whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. She uses more, or he uses more, 3 to 4 tablespoons. Sugar-free pudding of your choice. Goes with the cheesecake flavor, milk chocolate chips. Blend it, and then fold in your chocolate chips, and then eat it out of this massive container. I thought this was noodles at first. I thought this was like noodles and like, I don't even know, olives? Maybe comment or message me on Instagram with a screenshot of this and say what you thought it was when you first saw it. Someone run the macros on this. I don't even know what to say about this. It looks gross. I bet I don't know what it tastes like. Sweet, cheesy, creamy. It upsets my stomach looking at recipes like this. This is probably like 100 grams of fat right here. And I also think that it's really strange that this is posted in a keto recipes group, because heavy whipping cream has a small amount of carbs, cream cheese, small amount of carbs, sugar-free pudding, small amount of carbs, chocolate chips, milk chocolate, and semi-sweet, actually like a good amount of carbs. This recipe right here probably has 100 grams of fat in it, but it also probably has 20 to 30 grams of sugar at least in it. So to say that this is a keto recipe, this is where I think that people start using terms and they lose the definition of what things actually even mean. The best fat bomb fluff. Yes. Is there a lot of fat in it? Is it a fat bomb? Yes. Is it a keto recipe? Absolutely not, because the amount of sugar in it would almost instantaneously knock you out of ketosis. And the only thing that would happen quicker or happen directly after that is you would have to rush to the bathroom. I think a lot of people just can't tolerate this much fat in a single meal, especially if they've been eating quote unquote healthy for a while. Most people are more adapted to like a moderate fat, higher carbohydrate, fiber rich diet if they are on like a healthy routine. So by switching over to something like this, I would expect to see a good amount of a good amount of GI distress, but I can't speak for everyone. To me, my review of this, it just looks really gross. It just looks like a lot of very gross. If you sit down and eat this entire thing in one sitting, this yucky. I am not an advocate for the fat bomb fluff. Sorry. What do you guys think? Would you eat that? I think I would eat a bite of it. I don't know if I'd eat very much of it though. All right, back to it. We did our apple cake. All right, let's actually get back into a little bit of serious content here. I know it's rare that we do this, but I do want to highlight this, and I do want to throw the link to it in the description. Jake, you can let it play through. This is probably some of the best longevity advice that you'll get. It's from Peter Attia, who is someone who I have hated on in the past. I think that a lot of MDs who start to speculate on nutrition and training don't really know what they're talking about. Peter not being someone that I would lump into that category.
Difference between you and someone with type 2 diabetes so bad that they're going to get their digits amputated is an extra 1 teaspoon of glucose in the bloodstream. That's how critical it is that we regulate our blood sugar. Nothing compares to having a high VO2 max, high muscle mass, and high muscle strength. The most important part of blood sugar regulation is having muscles that are big enough to put the glucose into and that are insulin sensitive enough to respond to the signal of insulin. The other reason muscle mass and strength is so important is as we age, fragility and frailty become an enormous liability in death. Once you hit the age of 65, if you fall, which is pretty likely, and you break your hip or your femur, there's a 15 to 30% chance you will be dead within the next 12 months. Certainly, a loss of function is a big one. You can also just die as a result of hitting your head. You can die from a fat embolism or a blood clot, sepsis, heart attack. The 70 to 85% of people who don't die, 50% of them will experience a significant loss of function that never recovers after. This issue of sarcopenia, which is loss of muscle mass, and frailty and fragility become the absolute keeper of death for people once they reach the 7th decade of life.
So we're talking about, glucose in the bloodstream. He's talking about type 2 diabetes. How do we actually regulate blood sugar? And nothing compares high VO2 max, high muscle mass, high muscle strength. Most important part of blood sugar regulation is having muscles that are big enough to put the glucose in, a place to put those glucose in, and make sure those muscles are insulin sensitive enough to uptake that glucose so that we don't see this prevalence of high blood sugar chronically. We also find that, one of the biggest contributors to early mortality in older adults, unnecessary surgeries in older adults, is falls and broken bones. So you fall because you're not strong enough to support yourself. You don't have the balance. You don't have the type 2 muscle fibers to support that. And then you break something and your recovery isn't in a place. So by training, you're going to build the muscle mass that prevents the falls or helps you stop the fall. You're going to make your bones stronger. You're going to stimulate a faster rate of recovery. You're going to prevent things like sarcopenia, low muscle mass, fragility, and you're going to live a significantly longer lifestyle or significantly longer life. But what I think Peter doesn't even highlight here, and it's something that I like to tell all of my clients, especially clients with parents, aging parents that they are concerned with. So a lot of my clients have that concern there is like, how can I pass what I do on a daily basis over to my parents? They're getting older, they're not moving around as much. Maybe they're gaining weight. Maybe they're, suffering from type 2 diabetes. How do I share that stuff with them? Something I tell them is that resistance training, eating a high protein diet, supporting muscle mass is the best way to not only increase the amount of years in your life, but more importantly, put the life back in your years so that you're not just living longer for the sake of living longer. You're living longer and you're actually living your life in those later years. So I know Peter has a book about longevity. It's on my Audible list to purchase. This reel right here from this podcast he did definitely swung me over to his side. I think he has some, maybe I'm mistaking him from someone else. I feel like I've seen some stuff from him where he's like a keto advocate or a high fat diet advocate, but I could be wrong. Peter, I approve of this. All right, our next one, we're right back into the silly stuff. And it's keto. It's a keto advocate, KyleWill.tv. He is a carnivore diet enthusiast, and he's talking here about the fact that the carnivore diet, low in fiber, low in overall food volume, high in fat, isn't exactly the best way to ensure that your bowel movements are consistent. Fiber being the regulator of digestion, both soluble and insoluble fiber working together. Insoluble fiber to kind of push things through. Soluble fiber to increase water volume in the gut, to increase both size of bowel movements and gut motility, move things along. If you don't have fiber, you're definitely missing out on that. But he could fix the problem. Let me guess, you're on the carnivore diet and you can't poop. I found this fix my issue entirely. So if you watch this video, grab an entire stick of butter, burn it in a pot on the stove, and then put in the bowl overnight so it hardens, and then put honey on it. It's delicious. Curb your sweet tooth. Like and share. Kyle, what's the difference between just eating a stick of butter with some honey on it? It's curbing your sweet tooth cravings because you just dumped a bunch of sugar in the form of carbohydrates or in the form of honey on top of it. Nothing about this is any different than what you're normally eating. Burning butter in a pan, solidifying it into a brick, putting honey on it, and then taking a bite is no different than eating your normal diet. There's no difference. If butter in its solid form being added to meat with honey and eggs and all the things that carnivore diet enthusiasts advocate for, if that stuff wasn't getting your dookie moving, burning a stick of butter and putting honey on it also won't do it. This will fix no one's problem. Seems a bit unhealthy. No fiber. Honey is sugar and not carnivore. You can't poop because people who eat cooked meat should eat vegetables. How can people think that eating literal sticks of butter covered in pure sugar will fix gastric problems when they could just literally eat a tin of sweet corn? Do you need more hydration and fiber? Surely a few shots of coffee? Doesn't sound like a very solid diet. Yeah, there's nothing about this that'll fix a lack of pooping, Kyle. This is just the same thing that you've always been eating. If the carnivore diet has allowed you to become healthier, lose body weight, improve your lipids, get your blood work on track, I salute you. I applaud that. But this right here will fix no one's pooping problem, even if you hashtag carnivore, hashtag butter, hashtag poo. And last but not least, speaking of people who really just don't understand nutrition as a whole, I got this reel sent to me. It's someone who is in favor of raw milk. I am neither here nor there on raw milk. I think I haven't looked into it enough. I just don't care, mostly because people who advocate for raw milk are fervent in how much they enjoy it. So I don't enjoy arguing with people or engaging with people who are that deep down their own rabbit hole. But Ryan has a problem here. Shitty that he shares the same name as me, but whatever.